Right guys, so here we are in the next video. You can see the darkness has got really bad. The sun's starting to set, it's got really dark. Most of the grids, in fact almost all the grid, have had to change to clear visors at this point because you just couldn't see a thing. And as you will see from our position here, we are starting third in this heat. This is our best start of the day, and really we just need a good result here. The plan is to get ahead of the two in front, just get our heads down and have a clean race. We're not in that mid-pack mush that is has been our downfall in heats 1 and 2. So hopefully we can avoid any incidents, and yeah, that's the plan. As I say, the plan for this one, just get ahead of these two ahead. We're hoping to get a decent start. We are on the right hand side. Turn 1's a right hander, turn 2 is a left hander, so we're looking to get ahead of Jake into turn 1 on our left there, and then ahead of the guy on pole into the left hander would be absolutely ideal. And we can see with these 22 kart grids, there's still people filing out now to be lined up. So it really was a long old wait for your start after leaving the pit lane when you were at the front. So you see I look over my shoulder there just to see how we're getting on. Nobody's pulled out the pit lane for a while, so it looks like we might be nearly getting ready to go. So obviously this third heat is our last heat before the finals. We've had two absolutely terrible results, two 21st out of 22nd I think it was. The honest answer, I didn't even bother looking. I was so down after those first two heats, I didn't even want to know. So yeah, I am way down. I need every single point I can scrape from this heat, and hopefully we're going to manage that. However, in this third round of heats, the way the grids were worked out is all the SRK2 drivers were the front half of the grid, so you know the second half of the grid are going to be wanting to come through. And you see the marshal's just taking his position on the right there. The red lights come on our left, and we're just waiting for that to turn green. There it is, green, away we go. We get a decent start. Looks like we're going to get side by side, at least with Jake. Yeah, he leaves us room, very clean race in there, and we do get ahead, and we're going to leave him room just at the entry of the corner just to make sure we don't squeeze him. And then we see I give first the super secret hand signal, just get on with it. Don't defend me right now. We're lap 1, it's like 8-10 laps. Just get your head down and go. But he's ran wide, that's bumped him up in the air, and we are just gaining and gaining and gaining. But he's going to go super defensive. He's looked over his shoulder, and we're on the racing line and going faster than him, so we're going to try and hang around outside. See how dark it goes down that straight. We turn in, we leave him room, and yeah, he nudges us. We get a nudge from behind, and we just settle back into second place. Look how much he's defending, and look how dark it is down here. And he's just killing boat, and there we go, I get overtaken. That's George. George was on an absolute flyer this evening. But that defending so hard from the very start just messes both of us up. If he'd have just stuck to the racing line down the back straight, and there we go, he's gone wide there, off the track, and then bounced back on, right into our path. And Jake's going to send it up the inside there, take the most of that situation. And there we've lost 2 places. We're going to sneak back up the inside of Jake. We're going to try. And we know Jake's fair racer, so we're going to give each other plenty of space. And yeah, we're staying in the middle of the track, so he's either slotted in behind us or he's still outside of us. It's hard to tell with these chest mounts, you can't really see much. And then we see a nose poked up the inside, but we keep our foot in and we're good. No fear after that heat 2 incident where I got airborne. And it really is pitch black in this section. You're trying to brake in absolute pitch black. And if you miss that braking spot and go slightly wide, then that offline part of that hairpin is just slippery as hell. So it really was getting quite hard to drive at this point. You can't really see much, and the littlest mistake and you lose a load of time. But now George has done exactly what we wanted the guy that started on pole to do, and just got his head down and driven. So now we're both just driving the racing line, and we're not compromising each other. I know he's a bit ahead of me, so it's easier, but we're not compromising each other's lines. And I get a nice early DRS activation there, and we're going to stick to the middle of the track, so there must still be someone pressuring us from behind. And we take the right hander from that middle of the track, the area, and yeah, decent. I felt good through that corner, I felt fast, and this one was easy, flat out, no problems there. And then into the pitch black again. It's really, the camera doesn't do it justice either, which is insane because it looks pitch black on the camera, but it was just so hard to see anything in this this kind of just dusk, end of dusk setting, where the sun is still up a little bit, but the spotlights just weren't doing enough. There wasn't enough of them. A couple of them were broken. It's fine down here where you've got one like every, what's that, 10-20 meters, you can see fine, but then you get here, there's not one on the outside, you can't see much there, and then you see it starts to get wider and wider between the lights, and I think I clipped the curb on the inside there, that's why there's so much movement. And yeah, that most of that straight just didn't have any lights on it, so it was really hard. That apex didn't have any lights on it, so you could not see that at all, and it was really hard going in there almost flat out. And then this one is just a joke. That's just a complete joke. And there we go, I haven't defended, and now Aidan and Jake have taken advantage. So the pace was decent, but I needed to defend still. This track was just a slipstream city, and basically you had to defend every lap, otherwise that happened, and when you lose one place you lose a second, and then that puts you slightly offline, and then you lose a bit of time to the person behind it, because everybody is just nose to bumper. And there we go, Zach then comes through, he's one of the SRK1 drivers, and then Bradley Shepherd's going to follow him as well. I give Brad the signal because I know Brad's one that does honour that, and he likes to use that tactic of just working together, driving fast and on the racing line, not like sabotaging each other's races this early on. There's a lot of racing left to go at this point still. These were long old heats, and it just is pointless to ruin your race by trying to battle each other when you really don't need to. You just slot in behind each other's slipstream, bump draft each other down the straight, and you can stay ahead of the guys behind. But you can see I've dropped off a little bit from them, and then Morgan's going to make his way through, another SRK1 driver. So now we know the SRK1 drivers have made their way through the back half of the SRK2 drivers. They're now on my tail, looking to make moves up, and obviously each time one of them gets through, the one or two behind also really wants to get through. They don't want an SRK2 driver between them in theory holding them up. Not that I was this evening, my pace was pretty decent, but I've still got that armband on. They can still see that even in this pitch black section, which is just a joke every time I see it. And we see ahead Jake and Aidan having a bit of a battle, so hopefully that's going to allow Morgan to catch them. We can stick on the back of Morgan and catch up to them. By this point though, I really was struggling with sliding. You see me sawing the steering wheel a lot, although that turn 2 was probably the nicest I've taken of the night. But yeah, I was really struggling with grip at this point. I don't know if it was this kart being cold or because the temperature had dropped this time of the evening, but I was just bouncing and sliding all over the place, and I just couldn't get it under control. Once Aidan and Jake had overtaken me early in that heat, my head dropped a little bit as well with all the incidents from the earlier heats. And you can see we've actually gained on Morgan here from the power of the slipstream, and we're going faster through that corner, and we try not to bump him too hard because I don't want to nudge him from behind there. And so we just give him a little ease forwards, and don't try not to upset him too much without upsetting ourselves either. It is hard though, because when you're going into that corner flat out and the cart ahead isn't quite as fast as you, the only way to get out of it is to either turn out of the corner or come off the power. And obviously you want to do neither, but equally I didn't want to force Morgan into the same type of incident as I had in Heat 2, because that was a pretty scary one, and everybody, especially me, were lucky that didn't go any worse than it did. Luckily Neil kept me going straight once I rejoined the track, because if I'd have spun or come out the car at that point, that would have been pretty hairy. But we're back on it. Morgan's pulled away a little bit, but we have, as a pair, seemed to caught up on Aidan ahead, possibly. See everybody defending up ahead when you can see in the light. And yeah, there's a lot of battling going on ahead, so we're just hoping to get involved in that. But again, it's been pretty clean this race. Oh, I say pretty clean. It's been clean this race. There's no contact from behind. Obviously the couple of faster SRK1 drivers come through, and we've caught right up to them on that little bit straight. So we can see Brad, looks like Brad's now taken the lead at this point. Yeah, he has, and that's Zach Venn on his tail, so those two battling away. And I expect Brad is being quite sensible and actually battling Zach at this point, holding him up, so that then the whole group of us behind start to challenge Zach. And that was basically all this evening was just kind of, if you're in front, trying to hold up the guy behind you so that somebody behind them. And we see, I'm not sure if I ran wide or I got encouraged wide there, but I've gone wide for some reason or another. and another driver has got through, and we can see nothing. And because one driver has got through, a second has followed them, and we go for a switchback but just don't get any drive out of that corner, and we just have to slot back in. Yeah, that was a weird one because we were on pace, and then that is yeah, obviously I don't have any rear facing camera footage, so I don't know if that was a slide from me or some encouragement from the driver behind. I can't remember, to be honest. I've erased this evening from my memory, but yeah, there was a lot of that encouragement wide from behind, shall we call it, where drivers would just nudge your rear corner, and in these low grip cold conditions where especially my car seemed to be sliding a lot, all it took was a little bit of encouragement and you just went wide, and then there's a cart width gap all of a sudden, funnily enough. But yeah, I don't know for certain that's what happened in that particular instance. So yeah, and there's the checkered flag. So that was a decent heat with 2 or 3 disappointing moments that may have been contact, they may have been mistakes. I don't have any evidence either way, and I can't remember. So that was a decent finish though. I think it was like 9th or 10th. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 9, 11th, I think, at a quick count. It's hard to count the heads with the steering wheel in the way in these dark conditions. But yeah, we'll take it. I think losing the positions to George, Aidan and Jake were not ideal. Obviously George just capitalised on the guy that started pole defending for his absolute life from the very first corner, which is never going to go well. And then I didn't defend, ironically, against Aidan and Jake later in the heat, and they managed to send it up the inside of the hairpin. So those are the 2 moments that I'm disappointed in my performance from that heat. The rest was pretty decent. I was happy with it. It went pretty well. The racing was clean-ish, especially for how it had been so far this evening. It was pretty clean. So yeah, that was heat 3, and this put us P9 in the C finals. There's no post-heats vlog because I didn't feel like it, to be honest. I was pretty downbeat at this point of the evening. 2 terrible heats, 1 meh heat, and almost certainly in the C final. So let's just jump straight into that C final. Okay then guys, C final. It's not where we wanted to be at this point of the night, but it's where we found ourselves. So let's make the most of it, get the best result we can. Very much hoping this will be a dropped round, but we still need to score every point we can. We're starting 9th and just waiting for the grid to be formed. There's only 15 carts for the finals, but only the first place driver progresses through to the next final, so we're going to have to win this heat if we want to progress. See the red light on the left there, you can actually see it in the dark, and green light, away we go, and we get a poor to average start. We're just going to not really gain on Jen at all, and yeah, we're just going to try and slot in and enjoy this race. See what's going on ahead. We see a guy run out wide. Yep, he's going to get into the grass, he's going to turn back onto the track, and luckily we all avoid him and just get on with it. Yeah, I'm looking to just enjoy this final, to be honest. It's one of those where it's not going to be the result I want, but do this for fun. Do this to spend some time with friends, race go-karts and have a laugh. So that's all we're going to do this final. We're going to race clean, we're going to race fair, we're going to race hard, and we're going to drive fast basically and see what comes of it. We're going to try and avoid any incidents and just have some fun. And yeah, we can see this darkness is done. Now you can't even see my hands, my feet, the steering wheel at that point. It's just unacceptable from the track, really. Yeah, it wasn't as well run as I expected it to be after my practice events. It was a bit of a shambles, to be honest, from the track, but that's what happens when you get treated like just any old corporate booking. But yeah, that's a rant for another time. We'll focus back on the racing. It is pretty tight. Trying that nice early human DRS, see if we can catch up to the back of Jen a bit down here. And, they've gone defensive on the inside, so we're going to take the racing line, see if we catch up to them and see just how much more we catch them through taking that racing line. In fact, I have to turn out at the apex slightly to avoid just completely punting Jen. Really didn't want to do that again. I say again, I didn't at any point, but I didn't want to force anybody onto that curb in a repeat of the incident I had in Heat 2. But yeah, it's a nice clean race, and probably the cleanest race of the night, to be honest, this C final, which is usually not the case with C finals, but there we go. Just trying to keep our line at this point, keep our pace up. Everybody's playing the sensible game. I think Ryan's now taking the lead at the front, so we'll see what Chris decides to do, see if he decides to slip through him for a while, or if he's going to battle him all the way and let us all get involved. See, I make the go faster signal with my right hand there because it looks like somebody's challenging me from behind. And again, like I said, there's no point. He's going to send it up the inside fine. I think he had an absolute rocket of a kart, to be honest. Yeah, there's no point. You see how much time I lost to Jen through us battling there. And we're better off working together, slicing through the pack, and then once you're in the top 2 or 3 and there's a couple of laps to go, then we have a fight. But well, it's all good. We didn't lose too much, so now we're just going to do what we're telling them to do and just stick on their tail and try and go through. So we have a look up the inside. He's been slow into that left-hander, but it's not quite on. So we can get a better drive around this right-hander. No, we're going to clip the curb, run wide a little bit, and just not gain anything. But we know that they're going to fight in front, so that'll allow us to catch back up at least. We don't need to worry about that. And you see how dark this back straight is. We turn in and he goes wide there. There's 2 people wide in one corner. We're now 3 wide, and it's just a 5-car bunch. I slot in between Jen and that guy there, and I can't see what's going on because it's so dark, but we seem to have got ahead of those 2. We have, and then can we make any more? No. So that was an interesting spot with 5 of us in a bunch there, and we're going to get it sent up the inside again. Yeah, I think that kart was an absolute rocket. Not taking anything away from the driving, but there was one kart, I'm pretty sure it's that one, came through from like way down in this heat and went on through the B final, made up a load of B final places as well. It's insane. Great driving. Obviously you've still got to put the kart in the right place, but they pulled that kart out of the garage. Diego, Sam and Luke, the organisers, actually removed some of the bad karts because they keep an eye on what karts are good and what karts are bad throughout the event, and they told them to pull out some of the bad karts. They pulled out the bad karts, and then for some reason they pulled 2 random karts and added or 3 random karts and added 3 more karts, and one of those karts was an absolute rocket. Again, just the track doing whatever they want and just affecting the parity of the championship that we're trying to achieve. We see the battling through the battling ahead there. I've got alongside this driver. Now we're good for the left-hander, but it's a long right-hander to follow. Now we're gonna hang it, and we're gonna send it round the outside of him and just get that move done. That was a decent move actually. I'm happy with that one. Again, nice early human DRS, the entire straight. Obviously defending this point because yeah, we feel like we're getting later on in the race, and everybody's doing it, so you have to do it as well. Because if you don't do it, then they just get up the inside of you because they get bump drafted by the person behind, and you end up out the snake, and it's all over. So yeah, you're kind of forced into this weird just defend all the time strategy at this point, and it's just not ideal. We want to be challenging the guys ahead, not competing with the guy behind. But yeah, we've spread out a little bit now, and I'm pretty sure it's Ben Payne's ahead at this point, his first outdoor race. So hey Ben, if you're watching, real great performance. It was great to catch up and speak with you as well, and yeah, you drove excellently. Yeah, you're going to fit right in. Assuming you do some more, it'd be great to see you on the grid for future rounds and for next year, if we race in daylight, unlike this where we can't see anybody. But yeah, so we kind of settled into a rhythm now. I think this is just kind of might be where we're going to finish by the looks of it, if we don't lose any more places or there's no chaos ahead, because yeah, we're gonna challenge Ben. But this has been a good race. It's been a decent race. It's been a fun race. We're certainly not going to get the result we wanted. I doubt we're going to win the heat from here. I'm pretty sure Ryan has checked out. Yeah, there he is. He's turning into the left-hander just as we come out of turn 2 there. But yeah, it's just kind of, it's fun. We're enjoying it. We've come all this way, so we may as well enjoy the karting, haven't we? And this has been a decent race. I think there was some carnage behind me, but obviously I wasn't paying too much attention to that. A little look over the shoulder there to check if anybody's challenging us. Those guys ahead seem to be pulling away from us a bit. A little bit of battling ahead. So hopefully we're going to get a little bit more battle by the end of the final. But I can't remember. I can't see because it's so dark. Yeah, Three Sisters really need to sort out those spotlights. You just can't. Like, I'm wearing bright, illuminous orange, and you can barely see it at points. You see an interesting defensive move there, but Ben manages to stick it out, and then that guy runs wide there, and they both lose time, and I catch them up. So there we go. We overtook somebody because of that side-by-side battling there, and yeah, it's fun, and that's what it's about. The result is going to be bad. We know that. Really hoping this is a dropped round because it's not looking good for the championship. If it's not a dropped round, we're gaining on Ben there, but from the outside it'll be a Herculean effort. We're going to try and switch it up the inside. Not quite got enough drive out of there because there's no big braking zone there. It's very hard to gain that momentum over them. But yeah, and then follow round here. The big braking zone is into that hairpin, but we weren't close enough to send it. But we are getting decent drive out of here. I think there's a bit of battling going on ahead. So we'll see if we can get involved. And yeah, there's Matt Baker ahead, and we see this guy swerving down the straight, trying to get around Matt. It's just caused Ben to have to back out a little bit, which has caused me to contact Ben, which has just compromised both of our lines into turn 3 and into the lunar bends there. Yeah, that straight weaving is not ideal, but it's just one more thing to add to the chaos that was this Three Sisters round. You see we make up great gains down the straight through that right-hander, and yeah, it's 4 of us in a block now. Ben's looking to go up the inside behind the rocket car, and we're going to try and follow him, but we're not going to get the drive out. And then Matt's going to stay ahead for the right-hander. Ben's going to slot in. We're going to send it up the left-hand side of Ben. We're going to think about it, but it's not quite on. He's kept enough pace through there. We haven't got good enough drive out of it to challenge him up the inside, and yeah, and then we're back into our slipstream line, the train, for this part of the lap. Because yeah, again, if you're outside of the slipstream train, then you're nowhere. Basically, you're getting overtaken from the people that have stayed in it behind you. So good old tactics. Again, we see we're catching up in this right-hander at the end of the straight. I was well happy with how I was driving at this point. I was well happy with how I was driving all night. Just the instance early on compromised my entire event. Got my head down, got me out of comfort. And I just couldn't drive my best for most of the evening, but this is fine. Although we've got somebody up our right hand side there, but this is a left-hander, so we're just going to take that. And we leave a cart's width on the outside because we're nice like that. But we're pretty confident we're going to take this faster than them, yeah, and we're just going to close the door into the apex on the right hand of the Luna. And we see that little battle just for those 3 corners. And I give the super secret signal again. Look how much time, when I get up out of this human DRS, look how much time we've lost to Ben Head. He's gone completely out of view. We were bumper to bumper. Looking now, they're like 4 or 5 cart lengths ahead, and we've just lost so much time. And all that is from one cart sticking their nose up your inside on one corner, and you having to hold them off for the next 2 or 3. And you see there's a big ruckus ahead, and we weren't involved in that because of that challenge. And then we see the checkered flag. I can't remember what place I finished in this final. 7th, I think. No, 1, 2, 3, 4, 6th in this final. Yeah, fine. I made up a few places, had a good race, had some good battles. We had a great battle with the guy behind in the final there. I know I'm bemoaning losing time, but it was a fun battle. I just wish it was for 1st or 2nd rather than 6th or 7th. And yeah, we'll jump on into the results now and see how terrible they were. Actually, we got the outro vlog, which I think is just going to end the video, to be honest. I finished 35th out of 44. I've dropped to 4th in the championship. It's not good reading. We're gonna hope it's a dropped round, and yeah, actually my battery dies halfway through the outro, which just summed up my evening. So I'll pop that up now. You can see it, you can laugh at it, and yeah, don't take the mick at me too much for looking so sad. We'll see you in the next video, guys. Okay guys, I've got no idea how much of me you're going to be able to see for this part of the video, because it's got quite dark now, as you can see. So, had a
poor third heat. Yeah, just didn't defend well enough, lost a couple of positions, and then that just like snowballed into lots of losses. And then I was 9th in the C final on the grid, and I made up some places, had a decent kart, had a good battle. It was a decent race, the best race of the night. I think I finished 5th or 6th. I'll show you in the results once they're published, but it's not good enough, nowhere near. So I got a lot of practice. It's a bit embarrassing to come up, do so much practice, and then just finish nowhere at all. Wasn't really, didn't score any points. The A final's out now, and Tom Seabrook and Harrison Earl are both in that, so I'm losing massive ground in the championship. I'm not gonna lie, it feels like top 3 is now a pipe dream. I'm gonna need 3 absolutely stellar last rounds, and I'm not sure it's gonna happen at current form. Yeah, it's a bit of a depressing end to this one, I'm afraid, but that's racing, I guess.